Hello and welcome to Big Bandit Gaming. I'm your host Troy, and today we have Josh.
Hello.
Izayah.
Hi.
So, the enthusiasm killed me.
We forgot how to do this.
And
I'm very sleepy.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah. Just to fill you guys in, I'm still good. It's still like light outside where I'm at. It's like almost midnight there. Not really, but it will be.
Not
It will be.
by the time we're done.
By the time we're done dusting off these mics and talking about our games, yes, it may just be. Okay. Josh is gonna bow out now. He's like, "Well, that was good."
Can I just go through my games real quick?
Yeah.
Say goodnight.
I'm out of here.
I leave my list with someone else.
Yeah.
I gotta go. But yeah, hey, we're back. It's good. It's good to hear everyone. We were talking before. Everyone's been busy. We're like, yeah, we've kind of played these games. We've played these games. I think, Josh, you've been able to play your games.
I've played so many games.
Oh my god, yeah, you're really carrying this podcast. Please don't go. Please don't go.
I'll try not to carry on too long.
Yeah, but so at the beginning of the show, we're going to be just talking about games we're playing, other stuff like that. And then our second part here will be our most wanted sequels. So I do not know what your guys' lists are, so I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say, what you picked. We can even try and guess each other's, but I don't know. There's a lot of games. It probably wouldn't work. But yeah.
I think I know one.
I'm okay. Well, we'll save it.
Okay.
So let's just jump in here. Josh, I want to know what are you really itching to talk about? What's on your mind?
I guess we can start with what I have played. I don't think anyone else has. Baldur's Gate 3. It's what I've been playing most recently.
Oh, that's the one I want to play.
Yeah, I've been super excited for it and everything, and I finally dove into it, and I've been committing most of my time to playing this game. I told Colton, I'm like, don't worry about it. Focus on Starfield. This game, it's so big and meaty that it doesn't matter when you get to it. You're gonna there's so much there that anyone's gonna be able to sink their teeth into something in the game to really love. I don't know. What do you guys know about it? It's a large role playing game. Are any of you interested in playing besides Colton?
So I played maybe about 3 or 4 hours. So
okay, you just didn't put it on your.
Yeah, I didn't put it on my list just because, like you said, the game is so massive and everything.
Yeah.
Like 3 hours might as well just be like I haven't even got out of the tutorial.
Sure,
area. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah.
The one takeaway I had is, it's crazy. It's crazy that it exists and it gives you so many options and so many different ways to go about something that, half the time you're like, what if I just said no to this character? This seems like a main character, a lot of those options.
Yeah, the game has so many systems going on that I struggle to think of an intelligent way to talk about it because the game makes me feel so stupid. Because there's so many other games you play, right? You think, oh, I know how this system works. I know what's coming next if I make this choice. Or most games, it's point and shoot and move on to the next level or whatever. And this game just has so many layers of if I get this one specific unique item in this one specific side area, it could affect the rest of my playthrough. And I think that is really hard for most people, at least me, to wrap my head around.
Yeah, and it is a Dungeons and Dragons game, and I think this is one of the few studios that was able to successfully convert what it'd be like to play an on paper round of Dungeons and Dragons, but in digital form.
Yeah.
Because Larian, they're a studio that their last games, was it not Pillars of Eternity? It was
Divinity, Original Sin, yeah.
Yes, and those games are super highly lauded for what they did, character and your choices and stuff. So they were the perfect studio for this. And yeah, it's kind of crazy that all you can do and your choices and your options. But one thing I did run into, Josh, and I'm sure you have too, because you're playing on PS5, right?
Yes.
the UI, especially like in the battles and like inventory and stuff, is really hard to navigate around.
I agree with the inventory specifically. I think I could kind of get used to the battle system. It lets you customize it a little bit, but it is a radial menu. So everything comes up with in like a circle, and you kind of have to point with your analog stick to choose things. That's a little annoying. But you can choose like, oh, I'm gonna put all of my like combat spells over here, or all of my out of combat spells over here, and it makes it a little bit more manageable. But yeah, watching people playing it on the PC, I'm like, ooh, that would be so much easier.
And that is the reason I kind of backed off of it. Is just like, well,
Sure.
I probably want to play this on a PC or wait till they put like mouse and keyboard support on PS5 because
that would be really nice.
Do that, yeah.
But I do think because the UI is so different, I kind of doubt that they would do that because they would have to. That would be a major update for the PS5 version, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, you can do both on the PS5 or on the PC version, depending if you have a controller plugged in or whatever.
And it changes like the entire like menu system and everything.
Yeah, because you can play it on Steam Deck, and it gives you the controller.
Oh, yeah, I guess they could do it.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm holding out for. They haven't said anything or confirmed that they were going to do that, but I feel like it has to happen at some point, you know?
I'm already pretty committed to my playthrough, and I don't have a fancy PC, so I'm gonna make it through. I'm very close to Act 2. I think there's 3 acts. There might be more, but the acts are very large, from what I can tell.
Yeah, it definitely seems like another one of those games like Tears of the Kingdom where it's like it's crazy that someone designed this and it works, you know, and with how many different things are going on. But yeah,
I guess to wrap up my thoughts on it, I'm really enjoying it. It's really interesting, and I love having a fantasy world to kind of exist in and discover all these different factions and the backstories of all these different characters that you get to meet along the way. It's super interesting. Some of the praise that I've heard for it, though, I kind of don't agree with. I think it's not a very revolutionary RPG. I think it's just rooted in a different system than most people are used to playing. Like you said, it was D&D, and most modern games don't really have that foundation anymore. We've kind of moved away from that, and most RPGs, even games like Final Fantasy that used to be more turn-based, are they're rooted in more action and everything. So I think people are just it's like a retro kind of game that people who didn't ever play any of those old CRPGs are just surprised by the novelty. Because it doesn't actually play that smoothly. And like again, playing on the PS5, I've noticed slowdown in really weird moments. Where you'll like choose to do something and it'll just like take an extra second than you think it should. It's not a very responsive system. And I think that comes down to it being loyal to those CRPG roots of like you'll be in an area and you'll search an area and you'll click, I want to open this chest, and then you have to wait for your character to move over there and the chest to open, and then it'll open the menu for the chest.
Oh, okay, so it's like, kind of like it's very intentional then. At least when it comes to
moments like that are intentional with the slowdown, but there are odd things where there's glitches in combat. One of my favorite ones is whenever your character makes like a big final swing on an enemy, and it just doesn't show the animation, but then the enemy's dead. It just happens in like the blink of an eye. So it's like the opposite of slowdown, where everything just happens. But I guess it kind of hesitates, and then all happens at once, but you don't see anything. It just changes. So it has a lot of strange technical issues. And I guess my point is, I've heard a lot of praise about how polished this game is compared to other games that are coming out around this time. And I think that's kind of silly because it's been in early access for so long, and it still is buggy in a few areas here and there that are not small. Like they are noticeable. And I think it's unfair to praise it for being so perfectly polished when it is just another video game that, like a huge video game that's very good, that has a lot of great things, but with rough edges.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, regarding to that, Josh, is when a lot of people praising it for like polish, they're definitely praising it in the context of like it being a PC game, because there have
That's
been
funny.
like
Yeah.
5 or 7 really terrible PC ports,
Yeah.
this year, like Jedi Survivor, just like
Yeah.
stuff like that, The Last of Us when it came, so it's just been a year of people buying like $3,000 rigs and then it running like trash, where it's like the PS5 version might run better,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of where that comes,
Yes, I was gonna say thank you for saying that, because I think you're right. Because thinking about like playing old PC games, like any old strategy games like Civilization or anything like that, you do always have those weird moments of like tiny glitches happening, and when you're playing on PC games like that tend to be so grand that you tend not to, unless you're nitpicking like I am right now, you don't tend to really be bothered by those glitches. So it's a functional game and it's a very fun game, but if you are bothered by hiccups in a game, this game does have those hiccups, so be warned, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to jump back in.
One question, Joe. I know that we were kind of talking last time we saw each other in person, and I was telling you that I was really excited about Baldur's Gate, and I even told you that part of me was like, I kind of wish that I when I started Starfield, that part of me was like, man, I kind of hope I don't like the game at all, so I can justify just putting it down and just going to Baldur's Gate. But
yeah,
but that didn't really happen, at least not yet. Who knows what'll happen? I don't know. But tell now, that I do really want to play the game. Is the UI like bad enough to deter people who you think would actually really want to play the game? Or I mean, like how bad is, or maybe not even bad, just how different is it?
What do you think, Troy?
So it's not like the UI in general. I think it's just the type of game it is going to throw people off, because it is, like Josh said, it's qualified as like a C RPG, which is like a very specific game type. If you've ever played like the original Fallout's, like Fallout 1 and 2.
Oh yeah, and I have. I haven't
like
beat either one of them, but yeah.
Root, like one of those games are like the roots of where these like systems and how the game flows. For example, if anyone's ever played like Dragon Age, like more 1 than 2 on console, it kind of reminds me of that experience.
The only thing I would say there is that Dragon Age Origins is like, it's an action game still in a way. It's more of like an MMO style where you like but you're like commanding it and it's happening in real time.
So weirdly enough, that was just on the console version. The PC was turn-based for Dragon Age Origins.
Are you sure? I watched my dad play that.
I think there's different modes, but yeah.
Okay, well, that's really strange. I didn't know that.
Yeah. But yeah,
it was really good as an action game. Sorry. It was. I don't know why they would do that turn-based.
If you're like really feeling the characters and the story, I think, Josh, you can say it like right away, like all the writing's really good, all the characters seem really interesting.
If it's really as good, like writing and story wise and all that, if it's really as good as people were saying it is, I feel like I could push through a lot, because I mean, just like all the trailers and reviews I've seen, and just like the little clips like here and there on TikTok, I'm like, dude, I want to play this game so bad. It looks great.
And there is something to having like dice rolls to conversation, which is fun. You're like, oh, I'm going to risk this. And if it doesn't work out, like, another character like knocks out another character and you're like, oh, and it doesn't like negatively affect you. It just changed how that scenario went, Yeah. Which is, like I said, that stuff is very neat.
Yeah, I do want to say I've had so much fun in not save scumming, like the developer recommended.
Yeah.
I have like almost immediately killed a party member, and it's so sad because I have no idea what his background was or who he was going to become in my party. He's just gone so early on. I was like, oh no. Hilarious. And I actually really hate most of the characters, but I love one specific character's backstory so much that's more than enough to keep me interested in continuing.
Yeah, that's so cool. So yeah, and that's Baldur's Gate. Speaking of large RPGs that recently released, Colton, you're probably the one here who's played the most Starfield.
I would probably give that to Josh, actually.
Oh, okay.
I thought you would have beat me by now, but I guess you have been
No,
busy.
yeah. So, I guess we haven't done the podcast in a while. We've all been very busy. I've been like the past especially like the past month and a half. I've been really busy getting my Class A commercial driver's license that I've had to get for work. And so there was a lot of studying involved, a lot of
Oh yeah.
studying at work and away from work, and a lot of it was so freaking stressful. Like it was hard for me to come home and play games because I was like, oh man, I gotta in 2 weeks I'm going down. I have to go down to Dallas. I have to clock in to work at like 4 a.m. so I can make it to the south side of Dallas in time because I have to be at this place to study, every day and to practice driving and practice my pre-trip and all that. And it was really stressful, and then I was stressing myself out like crazy. So I haven't been able to play a whole lot. But as of like a week and a half ago, I finally got it. I can now legally drive 18 wheelers, which is weird.
Very
but
cool.
Parallel parked that son of a gun, and I got my license. So, anyways, I haven't been able to play much.
So I was just gonna say, you got your Class A driver's license, and now in Starfield, I can now pilot Class C ships.
Oh,
how do you feel about that?
Man, how long did that take you to study for, Joe?
That is an accomplishment.
Just a lot of killing mercenaries to level up my piloting skill because that makes total sense.
Similar process, yeah.
Yeah. But the little bit I did play, okay. Well, I know you all know about it. I did get about 3 hours into my first playthrough, and one night I closed the game, and then I turned off the Xbox, and then the next day I woke up early because it was like a Saturday morning or something, and I came to the Xbox, I turned it on, and it gave me a weird startup screen. It was asking me what language to choose. And I was like, oh, what the heck is that about? I was like, okay, English. And then it said, oh, what country are you in? What time zone are you in? And I was like, what the heck is going on? Anyways, somehow my Xbox got completely wiped. Don't know how.
It's crazy.
Everything got deleted off the Xbox. So, and I was very frustrated, but I was like, whatever. I know Microsoft is real good about the cloud saves with all the games and everything. So the games are back on the Xbox, and then none of my cloud saves are there. Weird. So I really don't know what happened. All I did was close out the game and then turn the Xbox off and didn't touch it until I woke up the next morning. So, anyways, I think it was for the better. I was very distracted those 3 hours. That first 3 hours in that playthrough. Restarting the game, I was actually taking the time to actually pay attention to like what was going on in the story and trying to figure out what who these people are and this war that happened in the past. And I was actually starting to pay attention. I was actually enjoying the narrative a lot more. So the second playthrough I think was probably helpful to me because the first one I was starting to get, I was kind of like just playing it like on autopilot with glazed eyes, and I wasn't really listening to a whole lot of the dialogue that I was getting involved with. But I'm starting to like it a lot more now. I have my CDL now. I'm a lot more relaxed. I can actually sit down and play something and not be like, half my mind somewhere else. So now that I can do that, I'm actually like sitting down and kind of enjoying a lot of the game. There is a lot of the game that I'm still not completely sure how I feel yet. The menus. I hate the menus in the game. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I think the thing I hate most about the menus is they did this in the Fallout games. I got very used to it. You pick up, you go to the menus and you have basically like food and drink in one menu, and then you have like your aid. Like it would be your stim packs or the drugs that you can take or something like that. I feel like
it's
that
almost
makes sense.
identical in this one as Fallout. It's the same exact system.
Yes, however, it's all jumbled up into one menu for some reason, and I don't know why. Like I'm in the middle of a fight, and I don't know. I just got I got a laceration, so I have to go get they have like bandages that like heal. They have things that heal burns or heal like cuts on your body, and then they also have like food or drugs you can take. So I have to go to the aid menu and have to scroll through this really long list, and
Yeah.
I'm scrolling through like butter, apples, wine. Oh, there's a
Well, stop
drug.
picking
Oh,
up all the
then
useless
there's
food.
bandages. Well, I try to
Yeah.
take some of the food back to my ship because I'm trying to make a lot of the ingredient. You can collect all the ingredients to make like recipes or whatever.
Yeah, but why though?
Okay, but the fact that I can pick them up and they still go in the same menu as
Yeah, you're
my
right.
bandages and my
They heal you for like 2.5%.
yeah,
maybe.
I mean it's dumb. That part is just I'm only doing that because lately I've been getting in a lot of firefights, so I've been having to heal myself, and I hate scrolling through like all that stuff. But not even just the aid. I think I don't know. Inventory management is a little. I think it's a little rough too. It's a lot. I usually tolerate the encumbrance in Fallout games a lot better than I do in this game. I feel like in the Fallout games it kind of I don't know, it maybe it makes more sense in my head. And here I feel like a lot of the weight is being taken up, which I guess you can say the same thing for armor and Fallout, but I feel like it doesn't. So like, you have your spacesuit, which you have to have on you, your helmet, your back, your what do you call it? The little jetpack looking
Like a little
thing.
booster thing.
Like those sometimes that can like all three of those things can weigh like 30 pounds or 40 pounds already. And I guess that's maybe I'm complaining about nothing. I don't know. It feels different. Like it feels like I have to actually really sacrifice like what I'm picking up. But also, Josh made a good point when we were talking about it earlier. They don't. I feel like they don't punish you enough for being encumbered. They kind of like how did you say it, Josh? You
Okay, so in all the rest of the Bethesda games, when you're over encumbered, you like pretty much have to just stand still until you drop stuff down below your weight limit, right?
Yeah, like you can move very slowly, but
Like
that's all you can do.
slowly.
Yeah.
In Starfield, you can kind of still move as much as you want. It just eats away at your oxygen, which is essentially your stamina. And then once your oxygen runs out, you start losing health. So it gives you this cushion so that you're like, well, I can make it. And then you struggle to get everything you're carrying to a ship. And then you're like, realize, oh, well, my ship doesn't have enough cargo space, so I need to fly my ship to somewhere to get it upgraded so I can put stuff in. So you're just walking around all these places, just completely over encumbered, but you can still kind of move. You're just worse at the game significantly because you're basically you shortened how much like max O2 you have, which is essentially your health in the long run. So you can't fight as easily anymore because you're trying to get this treasure you found on this one place back to home or whatever. It's really
it's a little strange. It's like the game's like, hey, you're over encumbered, but don't worry about it right now. Keep playing. But in like Fallout, it's like, hey, you better drop something or you won't be able to move. And then you drop it, and then you're like, oh, now I'm playing exactly how I was playing before. But I feel like in Starfield, I don't know. Again, that's also something that like you can easily fix by not picking up as much stuff. But in a survival RPG, it's hard to just not pick up stuff you find.
Is there a good upgrade path to like increase your capacity and all this other stuff? Like if you want to like beeline to it?
Not as good as I would like it to be.
You can definitely upgrade it. The problem is the skill points in this game feel so vital.
Like I don't want to waste it, on doing that.
But at the same time, most of the stuff on the skill trees are so useless, and it's just a strange system. If you haven't played it, it's different from Fallout and Skyrim. How would you describe how they set up the skill points, Colton?
I knew I was gonna want to talk about it. I have it pulled up right now, and it's strange. I don't know how to.
It's separated into like pages.
Yeah.
And each page is kind of its own path, but you don't have to really follow a path. You just have to invest enough points
each
in the
path
skills
has like
on each
its
level.
own row. Like, yeah, you have
But
to
you
like
only have
invest
to
3 in one row.
I think it's 4, but that's only
Oh.
basically you can choose to just max out 1, and then that's enough to move down to the next row. But the
Oh,
issue
yeah,
is
you're right.
you only get 1 skill point per level, and there's like God, I don't know.
You don't
There's
level up very fast.
I think there's like 330, 300. It's over 300 things you could put the points into, but you're probably gonna beat the game around level 50 or like 30 to 50.
So you feel weird like spreading out your points. You're like, I feel like I should just focus.
I feel
on
weird,
what
but
I
at the
have,
same
but
yeah, but at the same time, once you realize that most of the skills are such a small benefit to you, and some of the skills are a necessity. For example, you're forced to play in space. Like you have to do ship combat sometimes. And if you don't upgrade your ship or your ability to upgrade your ship or your guns on your ship and all
or
that,
like the aiming and all that. Like,
yeah, the piloting so you can pilot
yeah.
better ships, and if you don't do that, then you put yourself at a major disadvantage. And I found myself just lowering the difficulty just so I could get by these encounters. And even still, some of them would just destroy me in a few seconds.
It's one of those things. It's so weird. I didn't put a point into is it piloting where you can like aim at different parts of enemy ships?
No,
Oh no, targeting control
yeah.
system. So I didn't know how important that was. I didn't invest in it yet. I was about level 10, I think. Josh, when you came over, you and Dalton were talking about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think and me, I don't think Dalton knew about it either at the time. Me and Dalton were like, yeah, we get in these spaceship battles, and like at one point it was asking me, like, it was like a story mission. It was like aim for the engines of the ship to disable their movement. And I was like, how am I going to do that? My only option is to target lock on an enemy and just shoot at it. Like I don't have there's no way for me to do that. And then Josh had to bring it up to me. Hey, if you get that one perk, you're able, whenever you're fighting a ship, you're able to like zoom in. It slows down time, and you're able to aim at different parts of the ship. And I think that's weird that they locked that behind a.
Yeah, it's essentially they locked the entire VAT system specifically for ships. They locked that system from Fallout under the skill tree. And it's like,
yeah.
Why?
weird.
Oh yeah, and like what is it, like the jetpack boost?
You
still
can't
haven't
even
done
do
that.
it.
Yeah, you can't do it until you get a perk. That doesn't seem. That's just so weird to me that it's locked behind a skill tree.
Yeah, they
that
put
you can't do that.
so many essential skills in these trees, and yet if they would have just made everyone able to do these things, then all of the other skills would feel more relevant. But because you're like, well, these are the ones I need, then you don't really you spend most of your time playing just going, well, I'm just gonna get these because everyone online or just for the how vital they feel. You're like, oh, I need these skills specifically, and I think that's a really bad design decision.
Yeah, it's weird when you have to choose between like a perk or like a gameplay feature, and I'm like, I don't know how to spend this point. I get them so rarely. I feel like I level up slowly. That may be me though. I may be doing I guess low XP stuff.
A good example is like one of the first options you could do, like level 2 or whatever, level 1. I don't know. Do you start at 0? It doesn't matter. The first perk you could assign is like, do I want to carry 10 more weight, or do I want to be able to use a jetpack?
Yeah.
I think that's crazy.
Oh yeah. Can I ask you guys kind of like a larger scope question about it?
Sure.
So like this is Bethesda Softworks, do you think a lot of your complaints, is it because it's been done better in their previous games, or do you think this is something that's kind of always been in like Bethesda games, but now you guys are starting to be like, okay, like I feel like they should have like, designed this a little more this time around? Or
question.
I can't speak for like the Elder Scroll games, but I mean, I at least specifically for like the whole, like I don't think they ever locked like a gameplay feature behind something like that for the Fallout games.
I think it just means like the game overall.
Oh.
No, yeah, like overall, do you feel like is just like,
I understand.
Like is it something where, hey, these were problems in previous games and now they're in Starfield, now it's not acceptable? Or is it like, hey, a lot of these systems you already did better in your previous game, or games?
Well, for me, I would say this game is such a Bethesda game, and so many of their traits from their previous games carry over to this. And I do think they are aging. I don't think they're bad. I think that what they're trying to do new is actually clashing with their old design. I don't think that either are bad by themselves, but together it's causing a lot of issues. For example, like the random generation or the procedural generation of things on planets, that in combination with their open world systems that they've had before, and like encumbrance and all of this stuff is coming to a head where it's like, oh, I want to explore all these planets and get all these materials, but I can only carry like 10 things, and then I got to go dump them back at my home base on a different planet or whatever. And that just all becomes a big issue. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Colton?
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree with you. I mean, I think it is aging itself a little bit. I know. I think exploration is done a lot better in all their other games, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something that they could have been able to fix anyways. Because if they want to have this game where you're going to like different solar systems, I mean, you know, they can't design a game big enough to where you have like interesting stuff in between everything. But I think that creates a problem where I'm fast traveling 99% of the time.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
you bring up
never.
yeah.
I mean, I'm never walking from in one point of interest to another. Like I am fast traveling the whole time, and that is starting to get to me. Like I feel like I'm just going from dialogue option to dialogue option at that point, or you know, dialogue option to fight scene to the next dialogue option
Yeah,
because I'm just
the,
fast traveling the whole
the
time.
worst thing, more specifically to that, is that once you've been somewhere, you can fast travel to it from anywhere. You don't have to get to your ship. You can just be standing and fast travel to a different solar system.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a necessary evil? Because from how the game was kind of marketed and sold and talked about, it seemed like, oh, you know, you're going to get on your ship and you can do crazy stuff like take over people's ship and steal their car. You know what I mean? Like all kinds of crazy stuff. And then when people got their hands on it, there's like a whole lot of nothing in between, like in the space parts, you know, like there's
Yeah.
not much interesting to do. And maybe they realize that and they're like, okay, so we need to make like fast travel a lot easier so people don't get bored. But then, like you guys said, now you're bypassing
Yeah.
what
Now I'm
could
spending
be the
like
most
no time in
interesting
space.
part of a space
Yeah.
game. Yeah.
I don't think it was even something that was thought about genuinely. I think that it's carried over from their other games, and the fast travel doesn't ever feel as bad in Fallout or Skyrim because you walk to all these places to get to there, and then you're like fast travel back. It feels different from the solar system leaping from my front door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just because of the scale, and not even necessarily the physical scale of the game, but like the imagination of the players of like, oh, I'm in this universe, this galaxy, these solar systems. You're just leaping everywhere, and that's the best way to get anywhere. Is to use the fast travel system.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had a point there, but I feel good.
No. It makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah. So I mean, it sounds like you've played enough to kind of get kind of like a general feeling on it, like a general opinion.
I've played about 45 to 50 hours.
Oh, I would hope you'd have a
Yeah,
feeling
I'm
on it
pretty
by then.
close to the end of the
Wow.
story,
I didn't know
and
it was that high.
I've done probably 3.5 of the like big side quests.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, it's been an interesting release because it's like from what I've seen, like from the reactions, there's a lot of people that like actually really like it for like for the same reasons they liked previous Bethesda games, and then there's people that really don't like it for the because of the things they liked in previous Bethesda games. So it's really weird to parse,
Yeah, the last thing I would like to say
the reaction to it.
is some positives, I guess. I really like my ship. I like building the ship. Even though I don't really get to fly it anywhere except for around the planet or whatever. Like, I really enjoy being able to have that customization because I've made a few different looks and feels, and it does affect the way it flies in combat and things like that. And that's really fun.
I saw somebody on Twitter. They designed a ship that was basically like imagine like the outline of a cube, like basically all of the edges, but nothing in between. And they say they can get through any space encounter fine now because the NPC will always shoot the middle of the ship, but there's nothing there. They have like all the engines and space and cockpit like on the
That's
outside,
hilarious.
so they don't even have to do anything in a space fight. They just shoot and it goes right through their ship. And I thought that was a funny little like a clever workaround.
That's good. That's good. I like that. Yeah, I saw a funny video where I think it might have been like a glitch or something, but he just said like his ship randomly like takes off without him and starts fighting like pirates. So it's like for him watching from like a space station. I'm like, that's really funny.
Yeah. Have y'all encountered any bugs, Colton?
Other than the Xbox deleting itself. I mean, just the normal, like every now and then I'll be in the fight, and I'll shoot somebody. And like one time was really funny. This guy was standing straight up and I shot him with a shotgun and his body like flew back and hit the wall, but his head stayed just like floating in midair. And it was kind of horrifying, but it was, but fun. The body that flew back to the wall had the head on it. It copied the head and like left a copy of it as it like flew back. That was a funny glitch, I guess.
That's cool. That's cool.
I just realized like why I chose to stop playing recently, and it had to do with glitches, and I totally forgot that even happened. I think I had mentioned to you guys all of the combat and like voice audio was just gone from my game.
Oh, like all?
Weird.
All of it.
Yeah, any of the like gun sounds and any of the talking in the game, just it wasn't happening. There was nothing. So Weird. It was a very quiet experience for a couple of hours, and I was like, what is going on?
And like reloading the game, turning off the system and all that.
I reloaded it. Yeah, I finally came back to it like a week and a half later and booted back up, and it was working again, so I kept playing a little bit. But yeah, I was very close to just being completely done with it.
Well, to be fair, like, they just launched a Bethesda game, and I haven't been seeing like compilations of glitches, in the same way.
It does seem like at least for them, a very a pretty polished launch.
That's still bad. It's still bad though.
The bar is still low
for them, though. For them,
yeah,
right. Like Fallout 76 was their last opening release, and I know that game's good now, but I
just grabbed a cricket
at launch. Yeah.
What?
What you
cricket?
Sorry, I was messing with a pin and then a cricket landed in my hands.
I think that's good luck. You should leave and get a lottery ticket or something.
I'll never wash this hand again. Okay, sorry.
We're eating good tonight. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's move on from the RPGs.
On that note,
don't worry. We have more RPGs to talk about in just a little bit. We'll take a little break here. Like you guys, I've been ultra busy. I got a new job, so I'm working at a radio station now. It's been good. It's just been busy. But instead of playing games, I built something.
I remember you talked about this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. So what I built, it's called a MISTER FPGA device. And I will just give you guys a really quick rundown of what makes this device special and why if you explain it real quick, people are just like, oh, well, it's just a Raspberry Pi. I'm like, no, it's not just a Raspberry Pi. But what it is it's a little console that you can build that it's like a emulation box, kind of like you would if you like built a little Raspberry Pi to like emulate, older games. The big difference is it's an FPGA baseboard, and what that means. So if you're emulating like say a Super Nintendo or like Game Boy games, on like a Raspberry Pi or through your Xbox or on your computer, you're doing that all through software emulation. Or on your Switch, there's no hardware, running those. Those are all software and emulation. So it emulates everything linearly. What the FPGA device does is it's hardware emulation. So what it does is it takes like a Super Nintendo and someone makes a core, which they program the FPGA to copy the actual chips and the hardware in a Super Nintendo. So you feed it a game instead of emulating a game. And so that's the core difference there. And it sounds like a small difference, but it's actually like massive. Because I've played a lot of emulated games through like the little mini consoles, like I said, Switch, Raspberry Pi, computers, handhelds, every version of it. But what this guy does is you build it, you load software on it, and it's matured enough on GitHub where I downloaded one little file, it talked to the internet, and it pretty much set up the entire device for me through an SD card. And so what the Mister can do is it can emulate maybe about 50 consoles. So anywhere from Atari to Nintendo to Sega Genesis to anything else you could think of, Sega CD, Neo Geo, all that stuff. And again, it just copies whatever chips were in those consoles. And the really neat thing about it is that it has the box itself has an HDMI out, but since it's emulating the chips, you can plug it into a CRT, and a CRT reads it like it would have in like the olden days when you would just connect like a Sega Genesis to it or like an arcade machine. And so it's super accurate. It's great. It's a lot of fun. I have like over 10,000 games in that thing, like complete libraries of Game Boy games and Sega games. And it doesn't stop there though. It also emulates computers. So it emulates Apple IIs, Commodore 64s, like old Amiga, like European, Japanese computers. And so again, it just copies whatever chips those computers were using at the time, and you just feed it software and it acts like it would have. So yeah, it kind of becomes that little program I said, it automatically loads about like, I forget the number, but it's like 400 arcade games. And again, each core has to be designed by someone in the community. So an arcade board is just a board that runs a specific game. So they take that board and they emulate it through the Mister. So yeah, I can do HDMI out where I can make it do really fancy scan lines, like on the Game Boy games. I give it like a little pixel grid that makes it look like those old LCDs you'd get on like a Game Boy Advance SP, and it all looks incredible on like a big 4K TV. And at the same time, you can plug it into an old school CRT, and it just works. And it's incredible. So it's like kind of like the ultimate retro device. Like, just think of all those little mini consoles, but like, but you have all of them and they're run much more accurately, like cycle accurate, all this other stuff. And another fun thing it does is the menus. It gives you different like retro backgrounds. I have it playing an 80s radio station when you pop it up, because you just put like a Wi-Fi dongle in it and it connects to the internet. And then there's something called super attract mode, where if I don't touch it on the menu, it'll just launch games every 60 seconds and play them for a few minutes. And so it just pulls random games. So you can just leave it on a TV and it'll just pull like a Game Boy game or a PlayStation game. So yeah, also like if you're wondering like what it kind of emulates, it kind of stops at like the PlayStation. Right now, they're making an N64 and Sega Saturn core, which isn't complete yet, but you can kind of load it and play it. But those are like coming along. But any game pretty much from 1995 down, you can pretty much play on this thing all in like one box and plug it into a TV. So I have 8-bit DOE controllers plugged into it that are wireless, a wireless arcade fight stick. So it's like super seamless. It's really cool to bring just like in a big group environment, because you just say like, hey, name any game from your childhood, name any arcade game, and you just search it and there it is. And it looks, like I said, it's the best emulation I've ever seen on like an HD TV. Like anything you've ever done on your computer or through those mini consoles or in the Switch, it just like blows it out of the water. It's amazing. So
Wait,
yeah.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, I have a question.
So, yeah. Go for it.
One thing people talk about when it comes to pixel art and video games from like the retro era is how pixels were meant to be used as a way to be smoothed out by the CRT screens of the TVs. Meaning, like when you built a pixel art character in those games back then, the TV was supposed to smoothen out the edges in a way that made sense. It's why Peach in like let's say like Super Mario RPG like looks the way she does, more rounded out rather than sharp. And does those like the Mr. FPGA like, and you like having a TV screen with that, like does that help it? Are you getting that like well how do you put
Yeah,
it?
yeah. You're so there's two outputs. There's your analog
Okay.
output and your digital output. On the digital output, Izayah, you
Yeah.
can put scanline filters that emulate how it would have looked on a CRT or like
That's
how
cool.
it would have looked on a Game Boy. And they have specific profiles. Like I can have a filter that looks like an old Sony Trinitron from the 90s, or all the handhelds are there. Like I have a Game Boy Color filter, and so all the filters like state of the art, like they are the best looking filters where you get the way those like you said, like they looked a certain way on a CRT because of the scan lines.
Right.
And that's the first time I've ever put like a Super Nintendo game on a big screen and have it look like awesome, like not just like super smooth or like sharper than it should be, And then if you want to plug it directly into your CRT, it's going to play exactly how it was meant to be played, And same with all the PlayStation stuff. Like you can play it like the PS1 emulator. You can, and all these cores, it can do all the cool stuff you can do on actual emulation too. Like you can actually throw more CPU power at it if you want it to like run a little smoother, or it actually stereo pans stuff that was never in stereo. Like there's
Right.
all kinds of really cool stuff you can do. But yeah, Izayah, it fixes that problem for me. I'm playing like on a 4K TV.
Because you're really talking about big game with this device, and
the
I looked at it.
reason, yeah.
It's really cool. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. And one more thing is there's all kinds of different stuff you can plug into it. There's a port that plugs directly into the board, and if you buy like a certain USB dongles, you can attach original controllers to it as well,
That's
like
pretty
directly
cool.
to it. And there's even like you can connect a Wiimote to it if you want to play like light gun games like Duck Hunt or PS1 ones. Like there's so many options, and the community has been like, for almost not quite a decade, like 2017 or something to now.
Right.
It's matured so much that you can just do so much to it, dude. That attract mode, you can also, before it plays the game at random, because you remember how on like PS2 you wouldn't touch a game and it would just start playing like itself.
Yeah.
Or like older pixel art
The
game stuff.
demos, yeah.
Yeah, it does it. It goes into demo modes for games, but I can set it to where it pulls up a trailer for the original game on YouTube, plays it, and goes into the demo mode.
Oh, okay.
And then 3 minutes later, it launches something else. Like, I have it so when you're in the main menu, it plays a bunch of like 80s music, like an arcade, like an
That's really
arcade would
cool.
have.
Right.
Like there's so much different stuff that's built in, and once it's built, like I said, you just run a script, it pulls it all online, it updates everything. It does take a lot of like work to get your library to where you need it to be, like getting the actual ROMs. As you know, Izayah, is not always easy.
No.
It could be time consuming, but
Yes.
I spent the last couple months doing that. So like I said, I pretty much have like full libraries for like every Nintendo console up to the N64 and Sega and PlayStation and all that. So terabytes upon terabytes, but it's all packed in that thing. So I can, like I said, I just throw it. It's about the size of a what's like a good comparison for it? It's maybe like less than half the size of a Series S.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
but you just throw it in a bag and take it to someone's house and pop a couple arcade sticks into it, and you can play like Metal Slug on your TV.
I saw you dual screen this with another TV. Did you not?
So that's what I was saying earlier. I was using the HDMI, the digital output,
right,
onto that, and an analog output into a CRT, which you can actually use that analog output. You can actually use to put into like a stream deck or something if you want to stream it.
Right.
So which is like what a lot of streamers do. But yeah, it's pretty much the like ultimate mini console. And it's a lot cheaper because a lot of this stuff like you can do on a Raspberry Pi, and it would be a whole lot cheaper, but it wouldn't be nearly as like accurate. Like you're really buying this for accuracy, and Raspberry Pis don't do like true analog out, because they're software. It's not copying the actual chips. So yeah, it's like if you're into retro games, it is like the end all be all retro gaming device. So yeah,
That's cool.
I'm super happy with it. I have it connected downstairs permanently now, and I have my arcade stick, and I bought a wireless 8-bit kind of Sega Genesis.
That's gonna be
controller.
fun.
So yeah, anytime I just like this morning, I just was like, hey, I'm gonna play every Power Ranger game that came out on the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. It's just,
That's really cool.
Yeah, and you just boom, boom, boom. It's awesome, dude.
And you decided to do this after we visit Arizona.
I know.
That's
I'm sorry. Dude. Yeah, like I need to bring it over or something because, like I said, like just any game you name it, I
Sounds
pull it
really
up
cool.
and we're playing it. So for example, I brought over my parents. My dad had his 80s, like an 80s arcade game he used to love, and he hasn't played it since. And I brought it up, and he just played on it in his living room on his TV with the arcade stick for like an hour. It's like that
cool.
kind of thing. It's super cool. So yeah,
Sounds very
that's the
exciting.
next thing.
But it does sound like it takes a lot of planning for. You had to buy a lot of parts for it, I'm sure, and that storage you mentioned, like terabytes, bro, terabytes.
Oh
That's
yeah.
that's a lot of planning. But one day I'll look into it. Maybe when I finish paying off my debt. I'll be cool
Yeah,
with
if you
that.
got about I mean just to be honest, if you have about $600 burned a hole in your pocket, then
Oh,
yeah.
okay, that's not too bad. That's actually really not that bad.
it's like I said, yeah, it's pricey, but once you build it, you have it, and it's it's like hundreds of consoles and computers and arcade games in one little box.
It's
great.
definitely gonna be better than the TikTok shops advertisements for like the little 200 like retro games and one little Game
those, like,
Boy.
plug and play things.
Yeah.
Those are the worst.
Those are so.
All right,
God.
well, I will stop talking, and
Thank God.
Izayah, I know.
I'm so sick and tired
And
of this guy.
we're just gonna go right back into RPG town, aren't we, Izayah?
We are. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Sea of Stars. Okay, let's real talk for a second. When I looked at this game and I saw the advertisements for it and I saw how Victoria put it on her list, I was immediately like, that game looks sick. Why don't I have that game on my list? What am I doing with my life? And then I realized when the game came out and I learned that it had a whole Kickstarter for it, I had a much bigger realization that I spent $70 for a Kickstarter campaign for Friday Night Funkin', which was a game that I just liked. If I can go back 3 years to the past and I see myself, I'm like, dude, support Sea of Stars. Because Sea of Stars is like, it delivers on all fronts you can possibly think of. Let's talk about what makes like a JRPG fun. Grinding isn't much of an issue. Mario and Luigi mechanics, where you're interacting with the spells. So you want to throw a shell and ricochet off that enemy to yourself to continue a combo? They have that. Let's say you like the positioning from Chrono Trigger, where you like where the enemies are all bunched up together, and you can prop off that with a single move and do a whole swipe against all the enemies. And it has a lock system similar to, I think, Octopath, where you have to break the lock in order to stop the enemy from doing their turn, which is typically a strong one if you have a lock, and profit off a whole new turn for you. It is so cool. This is my favorite RPG that has come out, one of my favorites, in the past decade, that doesn't waste your time, and in fact makes you want to waste your time with it instead. I love Sea of Stars, down to the soundtrack, to capturing that nostalgic feeling based off the memory and not by the actual experience. Like the way you remember things, feel things, smell, taste, they always invoke a positive, like, oh, that felt good. I loved that. And Sea of Stars really just captures that, like that idea with its music, with its style, with its gameplay, and with its story beats and characters. It is such a charming, lovable, and just endearing game to watch unfold. You have like this party member who's like your third one. That's like pretty early on, called Garl. He is so sweet. He's like a cook, and like he learns very early on from like when like all the party members are kids that the world's a lot more dangerous. So he trains for 10 years, like the two main protagonists are already doing, and cooks and learns to become a great chef. And his entire character was like, this is the side character, but he's kind of like Jesse Pinkman in Breaking Bad, where he's actually realistically like, he's kind of like the hero. He's kind of like the protagonist that we really want to show a love to and like bring into this world. And I absolutely love that. And the dungeons for this game are like pretty like back to back. They're not like super like big, but like they're small enough where like it's like you could just blaze through within like less than like maybe like 30 minutes. Sometimes yeah, just 30 minutes, honestly. You don't really need to spend an hour unless you're really taking your time finding every nook and cranny. It's so fun. I want to really talk about how they manage content, because you have the main content. You have the story where like two solstice warriors are born on the solstice of winter and summer. They train in a school for a decade, and they're trained to fight a big like monster that's only weak on the eclipse. So the solstice warriors have to like fight them in order to keep the world safe, and it's an ongoing like generational problem. But then there's like twists. There's like constantly changing like characters that like you'll be like changing your opinion on them too as it goes on. There's like a continuous like a drip feed of like mechanics. Like there's also a thing called live mana, where it's like, oh, like if you don't want to use your magic and you just want to hit the enemy, you can take this thing called live mana from them, and it builds up like this double, tripled power for your attack, your magic, or your healing. And it's great for like kind of like mapping out like the strategizing your fights, especially boss fights. Because sometimes getting a mana will already activate your magic if you take it. So you can turn a physical attack into a magic attack with just attack and live mana combined. And that can make the lock system more interesting. You can like fight them with like let's say this one required sword and sun. If you already attacked them previously and you have live mana on the floor, and let's say Zale, the summer solstice child, can take that live mana. His sword is like a sharp type, so it fits the lock. And with the live mana, it's sun. So it 2-in-1 combo. Stuff like that happens back to back every time, every battle, and I love it so much. And my favorite thing about the combat, with like how its difficulty is structured, is just like once you get good at the game doesn't really feel the need to like push it more, because once you got it down, you got it down. Secret bosses, side content of that sort, side challenges and quests, like these battles that happen in them, including like let's say like super bosses. They're not that super. They're not like Final Fantasy, like bull crap hard, But like those battles, they're not impossible, because like I mentioned before, grinding is not really an issue. It's a mechanical like struggle. And because if it's based off your skill and your insight of like the battle, it makes the game like super tangible. It's like how in Resident Evil, you're able to stun enemies and like go for specific limbs, like in Resident Evil 4, and use the environment to your advantage, where it's not just point and click and shoot. It's what tools do I have at my disposal to like win the fight. This is what that game does. And the way that handles the content with the super bosses and the quests, it's always a fun time. It never feels like it's like a waste of my time, or it's like super time consuming. Even the true ending stuff, the true ending with like getting the 60 conch shells, the completionist whole spiel, and like experiencing these different like quest lines to unlock a big thing after you beat the base game. I'm be real with you, dude. It is all worth it. I spent a total of 60 hours in this game. You can realistically complete it with like 40 hours on time. But I loved, and I mean loved every minute of this game. I did not care how much time I spent on it. I came back from work every day excited to play this game. And I haven't really excited to play many games right now. I've just been on like the online kick with like like Overwatch, Valorant, Rocket League, whatever. But Sea of Stars, I want nothing more but to play this game, to witness this like fun and just endearing cast, and like the areas you get to explore, the music that encapsulates those feelings. Like it feels like a JRPG. And they had the composer, I forget his name, but he was the composer for Chrono Trigger. They had him come in. Yeah, they had him come for do 10 tracks. It is so cool.
I will say, yeah, no. I only played like 3 or 4 hours. But what I did play immediately, I really liked that. Like, obviously, a lot of its inspiration is Chrono Trigger based, even though you did bring in a lot of other stuff like Super Mario and all that stuff. That's like, like they're pulling from a lot of stuff, but Chrono Trigger is definitely something that's an inspiration for them. And I appreciate the combat wasn't just like, it's like Chrono Trigger. You can do like team attacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's right,
like, because that lock system makes the combat less of a turn-based combat game and more of just like a puzzle.
Yes.
Game. And that. I mean, it takes kind of some cues from like,
that's kind of cool.
It's almost like, hey, those Paper Mario games that have come out that tried to do that, they just never did it well. But yeah, like finding out like, hey, okay, if I attack this guy here with this attack, that's going to take away like 2 of those locks above their head.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to use this character to do like an AoE, which will take care of a lock of these 3. And so you're just trying to be like, okay, how do I get hit the least in this set of turns? And those are like the best JRPG like turn-based systems. Because some of my favorites from the genre, turn-based wise, like that's Final Fantasy X's bread and butter, is like trying to mess with like the turn order. Like
that's true. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. Like I am like, okay, that's really cool. And I got far enough to like, I thought the writing was really cool. The art was really beautiful. I mean, I was a big fan of the studio's last game, The Messenger.
I'm playing that right now. That game is super funny.
That game's super dope. Yeah. That game's awesome. But yeah, so I it's just a time thing. It always is a time thing with these games. It looks really cool. I appreciate it. I ran it. I don't remember. This is kind of a weird tangent. Sorry, I don't mean.
Go ahead. No, please.
Okay, I was gonna say I've been running into like JRPGs have been my favorite genre for years since junior high school, and I've played so many at this point. Now I'm at a point in my life where I can't just like I have to be very picky and choosy, and so it's tough because Xenoblade Chronicles 3 specifically I feel like is maybe one of the best battle systems I've ever played in a JRPG. Like
that's
just
crazy.
Hands down. It's like one of the best JRPGs I've ever played. I just don't have the time, and the story characters from writing in that game are not great. But but in like another life, that game I would have spent like 100, 200 hours on. Like it is like the perfect JRPG like system. So I'm struggling with that too with Sea of Stars because I was like, everything you said, Izayah, I was like, oh man, it sounds awesome.
I just want to take a bit
really well.
Yeah, I want to take your tangent and like turn into a little tangent of mine. Like pick and choose with your JRPGs. We have to pick and choose these games from this year. I made a list of the games I was thinking about would be my top 10 of 2023. As you know, I can't buy and play every game of this year. I just don't have the money for that. And I had to also rely on Game Pass. But when I went through that list, I had like 20 games on that list. And I was like, wow, like I want to play and buy all of these. But I just don't have that kind of time to give all these games a love. Like even right now, I am struggling. I am struggling to pick what game I want to put $30 for a physical pre-order for. Spider-Man and Mario, or Sonic and Mario, or Sonic and Spider-Man. Like, bro, like I love these games. I love what they have in store for me. But God, I just can't. But Sea of Stars, listen, it's on PlayStation like extra for like $120 a month. I think it's like not a month, a year. And then like you have like Game Pass for Xbox. on Game Pass for Xbox, like this game, if you have it for Game Pass and if you have $35 for Steam or Switch, buy it. This developer, I love their work so far. Sabotage Studio has knocked it out of the park for making an engaging, like charming and fun, constantly fun RPG. play this game. And if you're like this game already, go play the Messenger, because there's some pretty cool connections from the Messenger to this game. And before I want to end off this conversation, Josh, I know you play a little bit of Sea of Stars. I want to get a little bit of your input.
I've played probably like like 6 to 8 hours maybe. I would say, as a man who hardly ever appreciates turn-based role-playing games, this is one of my favorite.
Yes.
But my opinion is, especially in this year, if you are not into turn-based games, especially like traditional turn-based like JRPGs, even though this does a lot to improve upon that, I think that your time would be spent better elsewhere if you just have that predisposition towards like more action-oriented games. This has some action elements like those Paper Mario games and things like that. And it has that puzzle element that is really interesting, but it does come down to the fact it still is rooted in those old JRPGs.
For sure.
Yeah, and there's a lot of choice. Like I just said, like Xenoblade Chronicles 3 would be perfect for someone that wants like a mix of that, of turn-based.
Yeah, I'm a more
then-
of a Xenoblade guy.
And FF16 is totally like, yo,
Oh yeah.
what if this wasn't? What if this wasn't an RPG? So
Right.
so yeah, there's a lot of choice out there for that stuff. And Izayah, for your next, it's not quite as charming, but if you haven't seen any trailers for Ayuden Chronicles yet, you should really check that out.
What? I'm looking up right now.
You can do that while I wrap up my other stuff. It's spelled like EI.
I see that.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, check out one of the newer trailers. It's from the Suikoden creators.
That's right. You told me about this one.
It looks freaking incredible. It takes that the HD 2D HD look, and they
it's more 3D.
They like perfect it. It makes like stuff. It makes like the stuff Square's doing. Like, oh, why haven't they like kept working on this? Because this looks amazing.
This looks really good.
Cool. So we have a few more things on our list, so we're just gonna wrap them up real quick. I'll start here. I'm playing through the RE4 remake DLC just came out a few days ago. I started that, and that just reminds me why it's the best action game to come out this generation so far. So that's all I'll say about that.
Yep.
Yeah, by far. I've been playing F-Zero 99. If you've played any of the other 99 games, this is just as like creative, weird, and chaotic, and it's way deeper than you would think. Like the progression and the way like the events are run and stuff. So yeah, it's just 99 people on the Super Nintendo F-Zero tracks, and the crazy thing is they don't widen the tracks. They're just like, it's just, yeah, it's chaos. If you've never played like F-Zero, it doesn't matter. Like it's a free download. If you have the Switch Plus, just download it, play a few rounds. Like it's chaotic. It's actually really fun. I was super surprised. I beat FF16 probably right after our last podcast. I will save my thoughts on that for Game of the Year. So I have many thoughts, but I will not say them now. I'll just save that. And then lastly, I saw this is on your list too, Josh. I played maybe about 10 hours of Armored Core 6.
Oh yeah.
And
you hated it.
It wasn't my thing.
What?
I think okay. Armored Core 6, real quick.
Yeah.
Looks art design and like scale and everything. It is maybe one of the most it is the most sick game in action I've ever seen. Like it just looks freaking anime as hell. It's amazing. Like the way everything moves and looks, like it is obviously from software. Like animation is being done on it. Like they are like crazy with that stuff, and that continues here. But the game itself, not my deal. I can appreciate it, but I don't think I'll be playing anymore. I'm just gonna wait for that Elden Ring DLC. So
was it physical or digital you buy it on?
Actually, Wilfredo helped me out with that one, which he didn't love it either, so he was feeling that one a little bit. So
I heard. I'm sorry, guys.
Yep. So yeah, what do you think, Josh? Real quick on that.
Oh yeah, just real quick. I loved that game. I
Whoa.
completed it.
Oh.
I will
crap.
probably start my second playthrough sometime soon. It feels like one of my favorite games from like the 360 era. We've talked about it before. Vanquish. It feels like Vanquish meets Dark Souls, and I love that combination. Like especially if you go for like the quicker builds, the game is you're just flying. You're flying everywhere. It feels so smooth, and it's all action the whole way through. It doesn't give you time to breathe. I love that game.
Yeah, I will not say I did not think it was a bad game. I don't think it was for me. I felt like the controls, I didn't feel like I had as much control as I wanted, but maybe that was just my build. I don't know. But yeah, I'm glad you liked it, Josh. I didn't know where you were gonna stand on that.
Yeah,
So
it was definitely surprising for me.
cool.
I've never been into mechs.
Yeah, but if this is the game, I mean, dude, like it's just like a GIF maker. It's one of those games. It's actually a lot like Vanquish or like Gravity Rush, where you're like, you could just take a random GIF every 6 seconds in this game, and it would look amazing every time. You know.
Yeah.
But cool. So that's all for me. Josh, looks like we got you covered. Colton.
So other than Starfield, in between my little like days where I was too stressed out to play anything like super that required me to think a whole lot, me and Izayah, we've been playing a lot with my uncle. We've been playing a lot of Rocket League and Apex. We've been playing a more Rocket League, but there has been quite a bit of Apex as well. And dude, it just like I'm like back on like a Rocket League kick. I
For
mean,
real.
you know, we're playing pretty often. We're playing tournaments and I'm getting, you know, I can feel myself getting better, and that it's just so addicting, you know, to feel that.
I think the coolest part about Rocket League is how it's like it's tangible and not in a random sense. You can talk about how kickoffs, like ball, like pinches, could be like that RNG, but otherwise, I feel like this game really does feel like it's most majority skill, like really, really majority skill, and with the physics and
Yeah,
like
just
this
like
game,
with how precise everything is, you know, and like
yeah,
it's so different. Like when you're playing in a team of three, and you're not playing with random people, and you can be like, all right, I'll stay back, I'll stay back. Oh, you missed a goal.
Rotate.
Oh, but then you can go like, all right, I'm gonna chase it. You stay back. You know, you go real quick, and
it's
you know
so
you can
fun.
like it's like if you're playing with a good team, you're you have to be talking 24/7, you know, and it feels so much better when you know like what everyone else is doing, and you feel more like, oh, you feel more comfortable going, you know, trying to make a goal if you know that one of your teammates is actually going to go back to your goal in case, you know, something doesn't go your way, and you need a goalie, you know, at the last second, so that way you feel more comfortable trying to go score a goal, you know. And I don't know, it's just something about it. And then Apex is Apex. I mean, I know us three have been playing it a lot, but sometimes Izayah can't, so it's just me and my uncle. But so, you know, we'll just rock duos for an hour and a half, and I don't know. Apex is still, I think, a phenomenal multiplayer game.
FYI to anyone out there, they fixed the Titanfall 2 servers on
Yeah.
PC, I think,
I heard
but
about
I don't
that.
know on consoles. But oh my god,
Oh.
if they fix the console version, I will come back. I will come back. Yeah,
Titanfall 2 is great.
that is like the biggest tragedy of the last decade is that
3
Titanfall
was canceled.
that it just never got its chance in the sun. It's just like people started paying attention after Apex, and of course they weren't going to go back to Titanfall after that. So yeah. All right, Izayah, you got a few things on there.
Let's talk about humanity. So I love Tetris Effect. When Troy showed me this game, it was a marvel of graphic fidelity and also just sound design. That's like the real meat of the game. Yes, it's Tetris. Yes, it's that classic puzzle like from the Game Boy Advance, NES era, like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy, of gaming. And it's addicting, right? But that immersion was what sold me on it. Humanity brings in the puzzle to a whole nother like light of traffic management. You have humanity, humans. You basically direct them in directions to get to the end goal while collecting let's say let's call them goldies. They're like the bonus, like, hey, if you get this goldie, you get an award, or you get like a cosmetic, or it's just like, for the completion is like worth of it. It's so simple as just get 1 point to the second point and you're done. But the way they do it is they give you rules to work by. Sometimes walls are scalable. Sometimes you're giving not just a turn, but a jump. So every direction these people go, you direct it. They don't just, oh, I'm going to go here now. You have to direct them. You are the conductor of this game. And it's so fun. You get a turn, you get a jump, you get a long jump, you get a high jump, you got cloud. If you put a cloud before a jump, they get more air to their jump. So they go higher and they last longer in the air. And it's like, you can make these like super like complex like trafficking like areas. And it becomes like really dense of like a level. And like the space you use, sometimes you gotta use the most of it to like make it work, and it's super cool. I want to
try it in VR. I haven't yet.
Oh, it's on VR? Yeah, you're right. I see it now. The little icon.
VR 2. Yep.
That's cool. Yeah, I recommend it. It's on PS Plus Extra. I'm enjoying it, and I think for puzzle people who like managing traffic, you should try it. And I have my last thing. November of last year, I played Sonic Frontiers. I actually really liked it. I kind of overrated by the game of the year. I think I'm a little less hot on it. But with this DLC and with everyone talking about it on Twitter, I have to say it is one hell of a challenge. But the characters that they added, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and this entire new story they made and entirely new courses to like the last island is so fun. I'm actually having a really fun time with each character having their kind of own unique feel. It has its own share of problems I'm not gonna get into. I'm sharing for the game of the year like discussion. But just know like this game was still like pretty high for me back then. But with this DLC, I'm confident when I come out of it, I'm be like, that was so much fun. This is almost like how great and how much of a victory lap it felt to play Kingdom Hearts Remind DLC. Like these two have very similar like structures, how they're going about like DLC, and I'm loving it. Not completely, but like for like this game, but like I'm really enjoying it. I'll update y'all on that later.
Do you remember when where Sonic Frontiers was on your list? I don't remember.
It was 3. I think it was 3 or 4.
Okay. For you, that didn't seem that. I didn't feel like you overrated it at the time. I was like, oh yeah, it makes sense. At least you didn't put it
I want
number
to make sure. I want to make sure I go back and retcon something I say, which is not taking the quote from Blessing Adioti. I just want to say like that game realistically is a 7, but I really enjoyed that game enough to where I was like, you know what? I think it deserves to go on my list. I think it deserves that kind of like acknowledgement that as a Sonic fan, I love this game. And the DLC, I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to do the Walter White quote and say, I liked it. I was good at it.
Very good. Wow. Very good. All right, guys. Well, we got it. We went through our list, our like last 2 months of games, which weirdly enough wasn't as much as I thought. So I'm glad we were all in the same position.
Yes.
Yes.
I just had to hold back. I got plenty more.
Okay. Well, Josh can have his like own side
podcast. Just me talking to the computer.
All right, guys. So our next segment will be our most fun sequel. So we will be right back.
When I was a kid, I fell in love with the most sadistic platformers known to man. Spelunky
oh my God.
And Super Meat Boy.
I knew you were going to say Super Meat Boy.
They're my favorite games as a kid, and I loved every minute of crying, bashing my head in, and sometimes sleeping through every moment I could. I got a sequel for both of those games. For Super Meat Boy, I was not happy with. It was a weird like mobile game take on the
Auto Runner, right?
Yeah, Auto Runner on like the most like slippery, like greasy, like platformer with saw blades. Like, how do we go from this to this? disappointment. Spelunky 2 came by, and I was excited. And when I finally got my hands on it after a year delay, I was a little let down and overwhelmed with how just difficult and like crazy it is. And while I appreciate the scope it gave me, I never got around to finishing it. But one game I want to come back and bring it to the light of day and have everyone play again is Towerfall Ascension. This game means so much to me.
It's a good one.
I love Towerfall for its like friendly user like multiplayer like concept of it's a Pac-Man level design with bows and arrows, and the biggest advancing you could do is boost into an arrow and catch it. My God, did I love this game as a kid. And when Troy showed it to me, Victoria, Colton, and Josh, like it became an instant classic for me. I love Alec Kaloka's like soundtrack for this game. He also did the soundtrack for Night in the Woods. It sticks out and it becomes like its own like a kind of iconic like soundtrack that I would love to share and like listen to again if he ever came back for like a sequel. And like again, like just like the level design, bring back like bring in online multiplayer and have it to be cross-platform and like have it on all platforms, like and bring me like a homebrew, like you can create your own level in the game without having to do Steam Workshop where it's only exclusive to PC. Like they can do a few little new things with the sequel that I feel like will be just enough for me to buy it again. I swear to God, I would love to have a sequel for this game.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't think about like multiplayer games as like an option.
Yeah, because like every time I bring someone to Towerfall, they're like, "Hey, this is actually a lot of fun," and I'm like, "Right." So a sequel will be great.
Yeah, the sparkle in their eye when they catch their first arrow. Oh,
yes.
Also, you talked about the music. My favorite thing about Towerfall is how much louder that game is than every other game. So like in a party scenario, you start it and you're like, oh, turn down the TV. I don't know why. It's like 20 decibels higher than every other game you've ever played. It's very impressive. But yes. All right. Yeah. Towerfall 2. That's a great choice, Izayah. I wouldn't have thought of that, but I'd be pumped. Oh my God. All right, Josh, what you got?
Oh, is it my turn already?
It is, unless you don't want it to.
No, I got this. Mine's very obvious. I just want to see.
I know what it is. Can I try to guess?
Yeah. You can guess.
Go for it.
I mean, it's clearly going to be Bloodborne 2, right?
It's Bloodborne 2.
Oh yeah,
the classic.
It'll never happen, but I really want one. It's my favorite game. Like, not just the best Souls game, it's the best game ever made. Just give me another one. And I don't care about the frame rate. Keep it 30. Make it 20. I don't care. Just give me
what are you
Bloodborne
saying, Josh?
2.
Wait, stop. I know you don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're saying. I totally agree with you.
You don't know what you're doing.
They're listening, okay? Don't tell them that's okay.
It's fine.
God. Yes. It should be the most obvious sequel in the world, right?
Right.
I just like it's so confusing to me. If they just want like an instant another Elden Ring 10 million seller, boom.
What is stopping them? I don't understand.
I feel like it's just got to be their partnership with Bandai Namco.
Yeah. Or Sony's being weird about it too. But I can't imagine there's a world where Sony doesn't want a Bloodborne 2 on a PlayStation 5. Like,
especially after Elden Ring.
Oh yeah. They'd be pumped.
Which they're definitely making Elden Ring 2 already. So like would they ever like fit?
They're making DLC, but I'm sure. Yeah. But I'm sure they're doing something. They're a weird company. You would think other companies, you'd be like, oh, of course they're going straight to a sequel because it sold so well. But From Software is a weird company. They didn't need to make another Armored Core game or Sekiro.
I'm glad they did though.
But they did. Yeah, it's cool. Bloodborne 2. That's a good pick. Good pick. Colton.
So when I was trying to think of games, the first one I thought I was trying to think of things I played last year, and and a game that like the first one that I thought of that I think was the biggest surprise for me that I really enjoyed that I didn't really know how I was gonna feel about was Tunic. I want to
Ooh.
play another Tunic like game. I want to play another game that made me feel the same way I felt about that game, just with a better like last 10% of the game. And like because it really still bugs me to this day, like how turned off I was on the ending of that game with how much I enjoyed the first 95% of it. Like it really rubs me the wrong way. So I really want them to like try again,
Redemption.
basically. Yeah, because I really enjoyed that game. That game was it was surprising to me how much I was enjoying like every second of that game.
Yeah, and thing is, it was like a pretty small team, and it took them like 8 years to make.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
hopefully they've gotten whatever, if they do make a sequel, it's a little smoother for them. Because that was a cool game. All right, Tunic 2, very nice, very nice. Okay, so mine. Any guesses? I don't think you'll guess this one. I don't know.
Maybe. Suikoden 3.
Actually, there is a Suikoden 3, 4, and 5 already, but
Wait, really? What?
Yep.
Wow,
but that's for another time.
I'm behind.
Do you even play video games?
No.
My game is I don't. This should be obvious. It's like Bloodborne 2 to me. So I want the next Nier game. I want Nier 3. I want Nier 3. And it's weird because they've literally made crossovers with every game in existence since Nier Automata has come out. The anime just came out. It's great.
Fall Guys.
They remade the original Nier, which was a game that sold nothing, but had such a strong cult following that it made a sequel, which made it one of the most like important IPs for Square Enix. It's kind of a crazy story. But yeah, no, the fact that they didn't like lock Yoko Taro in a room to make a straight up new Nier game by this point is crazy to me and shows me how I don't know what Square Enix just doesn't know what they're doing.
You think they'll just make another Drakengard game on some weird handheld device?
Maybe
A mobile game.
He's too busy making mobile games. It's such a shame because Nier. So yes, and FYI, Izayah was saying earlier, Sea of Stars, Nier is on PlayStation Extra, the remake of the first one, and that is my favorite story in a game of all time.
Wow.
Best writing, best story, all-star cast, Laura Bailey, the entire crew. It's play Nier, play the original Nier. It's very good.
Yeah.
But yes, Nier 3, and let me just write this on the doc because there you go. All right, cool.
Yeah,
that's better.
Yeah.
Even the stupid like
a lot of numbers.
Yeah, that the version like 0.4657, like like that stupid stuff.
Nier 3.4. Yep. Thank you for covering me on that first bit. All right, cool.
You're welcome.
So yes, the next Nier. That's what I'd like. Izayah, we're just doing 2 sequels. So Izayah, this is your last speak now. Speak it into existence.
To be honest, there's not many games I really want a sequel of because they're already coming out, like the next Sonic game, yada, yada, yada. However, I do think Gears for Breakfast can cook again. I loved my time with the Mario-inspired Hat in Time video game for the PlayStation 4. I loved it, and I 100%ed it, and I would do it again if I had the time to. But the sequel for this game, with that level of polish for like a platform that's like super charming, colorful, and like just fun, simple but fun like gameplay, I would love to see that happen again. Of course, they have the DLC. I haven't had time to play the DLC, but I think this game would be really cool if it got like a sequel.
Agreed.
Hat in Time 2.
Hat in Time 2. All right. That's a good one, Izayah.
Wow.
I still need to play that game. Like
That's
in
a great
general.
game.
I know. I need to. All right. Josh, what you got?
Oh man, I'm really torn.
Ooh.
I get who I want to say, but okay. I'm gonna go with Minecraft.
Whoa.
Oh, that's a okay.
Wait.
Explain yourself.
Yeah. Okay. It's really simple.
Okay.
I don't like Minecraft anymore.
Okay.
I
Boo.
think Minecraft used to be really good, and then they were bought, and they made the game much worse by adding way too much, and a lot of the like menus and stuff get confusing. I want
Menus do suck.
I want them to start over, basically.
You want them to do like a Warcraft classic where it's just like Minecraft classic.
It's funny you bring that up.
Java.
My second choice was gonna be World of Warcraft.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think games that are just a little too long in the tooth, they need a refresh, and Minecraft is one of those for me where it's like your shop never works, the menus are just awful, and there's still that weird glitch in where you're mining, but it doesn't show you're mining.
Yeah,
The
how
block,
is that
like,
still a
hesitates to go.
glitch?
It's been there for like a decade.
I know.
Fix it. Minecraft
Use
2.
that money, Microsoft.
Minecraft 2. Okay.
That's like
okay.
unironic too. I like that. That's cool.
Thank you.
I wouldn't have ever guessed that one. That's a good one. All right, Colton, what you got?
I mean, I'm also torn, like Josh is, but I guess I'm just gonna go off my gut, and I really want Control 2.
Oh,
Because I really very much enjoyed my time with Control, and
Yes.
and I want another game where like I'm trapped in a government building the whole time. There was something about that just felt so like I haven't
Wait.
played anything like that.
You want the second one to also just be you trapped in that building?
Dude, that's how much I liked it.
Funny.
But obviously, I would not like, but like still like, oh, like let me go to I'm gonna go to the accounting department, and like all of a sudden, like stuff is floating around,
Yeah,
but it's
okay.
still like, it's got like that theme.
I think
I don't know.
the
this time I'm hearing
mobility in that game
move.
is the best. Sorry.
I don't know, dude. Once you get the floating ability and stuff, like that stuff
No.
feels pretty good.
Yeah, no, I said it is the best.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the shooting could get tightened up, like take a Gears of War class or something. But everything else about that game is I love.
I've been contemplating replaying it recently.
Yeah.
So
I remember specifically trying to convince you guys to play it for like a year after it came out.
I know.
Like
I couldn't buy it at the time. I couldn't buy it at the time, and then it came to PlayStation Plus, and I was like, perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
This is my
yeah. Very good. Yeah, Control 2 for sure. I'm hoping that'll happen. Also, one of the games I will be playing by the end of this year is Alan Wake 2. So I will be playing that.
Yeah.
That studio's next game is coming out next month.
True.
So the first one's so boring.
It's of its time for sure. It's hard to go back to.
I'm gonna go back to it for sure though.
Do a little YouTube. You know what? Just do like a little YouTube. What happened in the story thing, and probably play Alan Wake 2.
I like the Alan Wake stuff in Control.
Yeah.
The DLC stuff was kind of cool.
It's cool. Alan Wake, and they're doing all that same stuff where they're using like a real life like actors that are being blended into the game, and I'm just gonna gush on Control 2. It's fine. I've got to move on. Every time the board comes in with that creepy voice, it's so good.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm torn between 2 as well. I like how we actually could have done 3, but for brevity's sake, we're like, no. I'm going to choose. Oh, gosh. Okay. I will let you know my third after I do this one, just so you know. And it's funny because it was mentioned on this podcast already. Can you guys guess it? Guess what it was? Someone did mention this game. Yep. I want Vanquish 2. I want Vanquish 2 real bad. What makes Vanquish 1 so amazing is it came out in an era where everything was a cover shooter, and it was just kind of a joke like, oh yeah, third person cover shooter, whatever. And this game came out and you can play it like a cover shooter. Like the cover system works. You can do that, or you can totally ignore that entire system. And it's almost there as a kind of like in joke. And you just boost around, you kick people in air, you like Matrix slow motion, shoot upside down in the air, and there's crazy anime punching going on. Vanquish is awesome. It's short. It actually looks really incredible to this day. Like, I don't know if it's just the art design or like the motion blur, but they have a really good train sequence. I love a good train sequence in games. But so yeah, Vanquish 2, right as I don't know if Kamiya had anything to do with Vanquish. Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe. But right as he's leaving Platinum, I'm asking for a Vanquish too. My third that I did not say was going to be a sequel to Rayman Legends and Origins.
Oh, too bad you didn't say it. Darn.
But now that we're getting Mario, I feel like that's going to scratch that itch.
Maybe.
Huh.
Well, hopefully it does. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Or that Prince of Persia game. Isn't that by the same people?
That thing was good. I don't know about that. If it is, that's not surprising because that game looks rad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I would have said that, but that Mario game is giving me a lot of Rayman vibes for just the art style in general and stuff. That I'm like, I feel like that's going to scratch my itch. You don't want to know where that itch is. So yeah, that's our sequels. Honestly, so take this list, right? Put yourself in a scenario where like it actually would work if Sony was like, hey, we're have a PlayStation Direct. And every single one of these, actually, Minecraft 2 won't work. Everything but Minecraft 2.
Wow,
they could do that. They're not allowed to.
Way to go, Josh. You ruined the list.
But could you imagine a press conference where they're like, well, they did Towerfall 2, Hat in Time 2, Bloodborne, Tunic 2, Control 2, a new Nier, and a new Vanquish? That would just be the best press conference ever.
And The Witness 2. That was my other one.
Oh, yeah.
Man, yeah. Talk about something that'll never happen, but that would be
fun. I wouldn't mind if they did another Hi-Fi Rush. I think that game is super fun.
Okay.
Oh, I think they will.
I think they might.
It came out this year.
Yeah. I like that game enough. I'm like, I want this sound design and like style again. Like I would love all this.
That game's right on the edge of being like an all-timer, but some things hold it back. So a sequel might actually I think that game could be, they open up the level design and everything. And yeah. Okay, cool. Well, we will talk about that game probably in Game of the Year. But for now, that's our episode, boys.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, we got together. So I'm hoping if you're listening to this, you will know. Well, maybe not by the time you're hearing this, but you'll know at some point if we manage to record an episode between now and Game of the Year. But if not, we start prepping your lists. I got to start writing mine down, going through trophy lists. But it's kind of hard when October's coming up and has like maybe 3 of my most wanted. Like if I had to pick at the end of the year, they're like Alan Wake, Mario, and Spider-Man might have been like just straight up my top 3 after like Final Fantasy. So yeah.
I've played significantly less video games this year than I did last year. It's gonna be tough for me.
More entertaining.
I have a game up my sleeve that you guys I don't think you guys have talked about much at all, I think. So I think when I play it and like really give it a try, I'm definitely pulling that out and during the Game of the Year session. I might give you a hint. It's a pretty in-depth fighting game. And it's not Street Fighter 6.
Oh,
okay.
Well,
weird.
Yeah, no one played Mortal Kombat. I didn't notice that. All right. No, I'm kidding. All right. I do want to play that game, by the way.
That is cool.
We're going to wrap up this episode. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening. We're glad you're still out there. We will be back. I promise none of us died.
Yet.
We've all been replaced with chat. No. Well, thank you for listening. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.